Hello everyone, welcome to Painless Universal, a conversation with me and Welsh. Today's topic is very serious because this is a young lady. She has overcome pain as well, like myself. And what fascinates me, she's also one that's into fashion. You know, when you going through whatever her pain, you don't expect her to also love fashion, but she's so passionate about it that she also has a fashion brand. Meet Barbara. Well, hello everyone. We have Barbara here, like I said, and I'm super excited too. She's joining us here. Hi, Barbara. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to be joining you and finally meeting you face to face.
I know. We've talked about meeting up and having this dialogue, having this conversation, because you and I have such similar stories. But we just never had made time to do it, which is I hope after this whole pandemic, everyone realized and reflect about the importance of making time.
Yes.
It's just so important because it's just nothing beats making time.
Yes.
How are you? Before we start, I wanted you to kind of tell us a little bit about your story. Who is Barbara? That the exotic, very stylish, fashionable, but we'll go into that later. But who are you? And people who don't know who you are.
So that's such a like my background, or
a little bit about your background. Where are you from originally?
Okay. So I'm born and raised in London. I grew up in North London, Enfield, and I went to school in Cheshunt. I suffer from sickle cell anemia. I got diagnosed actually when I was about 4, so it was a late diagnosis.
That's slightly much later than I was.
Late, it's a funny story. I have to get it right. It was either till I was 2 or till I was 4, but apparently I was breastfed for a longer period of time. So I think it was something embarrassing till I was about either 2 or 4. It was something that it's not a usual age. And when my mom kind of feels that maybe that was the reason why I didn't get it. And that's it's kind of weird. But so at first, I started going to hospital, I guess, from 5. And then to about 8. And then after that at 8. So we used to do Bible study a lot as a family. And so when I got diagnosed and talked about sickle cell, I learned to pray about it. And my mom told me about a specific time when I got up during Bible study and I prayed about God for healing. And from the age of 8 to 16, while I was in secondary school, I actually didn't step one foot in hospital. My mom, because she had my uncle, I love my uncle, he passed away in 2011. And he had sickle cell, so and both my parents had trait. So he's a lot younger than her, about 20 years. So she kind of looked after him when they moved to London. She brought him to London. So my mum came here when she was about 22, and then she came with her brother, and he had sickle cell. So his was a lot worse than mine. So I guess my mom kind of was learning from certain things that he went through in terms of the hospital and medication and stuff. So she tried to take care of me as much as possible at home, rather than having to go and get oral morph at the hospital or put on hard drugs. And so a lot of the times, if I did feel unwell, I would just not go to school, but I would stay at home, and then she would help me, be my nurse basically. And she looked at remedies. She would boil banana tea. I don't know if you've tried that. So she looked at other remedies and herbal stuff and tried to do it that way. And I think that's one of the biggest things I think in my life, that I was able to overcome it and kind of that's definitely why I didn't spend as much time in hospital, I would say.
Oh, that's amazing, because I remember my case. I spent initially it wasn't too bad, but as I got older, I went back to Nigeria. Then it got really bad because I just didn't understand this whole body thing and how to deal with my body. But did you have any disadvantage from having sickle cell? Did it affect your academics, or did you have to go to regular appointments, or even dating wise? How did that affect you?
So I would say with education, I did miss a bit of school. sometimes I would miss. I think the longest period was 2 months, and this is when I was 16. I did have an incident. So from 8 to 16, barely went into hospital and was okay.
Wow.
Like, so it was like I actually believed that I was healed. So I was like, oh God, like God actually took it away. I did get minor crisis like leg pain and chest pain and stuff like that. But
nothing that took you to hospital. From 8 to 16, nothing really took you to.
Yeah, because I remember the last time I was in hospital before that, I was in the children's hospital.
Yeah.
And I remember the nursery nurses, and I actually liked hospital. I wanted to go.
Yeah.
But when I turned 16, oh my God, I went into an adult hospital and the pain was coming every month. And then I was like, what is going on? Like, and I started to actually panic, thinking that, what is that just like a great period? Is this going to be my life? Is from now on I'm just going to be in hospital every month? And my doctors were telling me it was adult, your hormones change,
your body's changing.
So I really would start to panic, and every month when I would get crisis, I would cry. Then we're going to A&E. Then I would get like morphine or diamorphine. Then I would get the drip and like all of that, and then have to stay there for a week. So that period I started to that's when it started to really affect me, because when you're a teenager and like when you're before that age of 16, you're just in school and in home, and it's not really it's still obviously life and you're a child, but like when you get to 16, you've already built like dreams and goals and stuff, and especially not having gone to hospital for that period, being at that stage was kind of like it was becoming, I was getting panicked. And then also with dating, before I was so used to telling people about, oh yeah, I have sickle cell, and using it as an excuse when I was in secondary school to not do PE. But then after, I think I dated one person and I told him like it was nothing, and he was a bit like, oh, like what is that, like cancer or something? Like his reaction was just a bit like, and then after that kind of made me feel like, oh my God, is it a bad thing? Is it like something? So I think that stage was where it kind of got like, oh, and then I started to step back and trying, that's when my faith got a bit stronger with God. I remember when I would cry every time, my sister and my family are really supportive, but they also have like a tough love thing. So they're very supportive, they're very loving, but they also have a don't cry, take your medication, like, and instead of like crying and like starting to feel sorry for myself, I was like, okay, let me calm down, because when I cry, the pain gets worse because my emotions are going higher, and then I'm like crying and hysterically and I'm in pain. And she's like, calm down, you have the Oromorph, take it, relax, put something on TV, I'll talk with you, and like trying that. And that really helped with like getting over that, the hormonal period. I do have a thing still till today that every time it's around that time of the month that I'm at risk. So that time of the month I make sure not to, like if someone invites me to go out or something and it's cold or something, I would rather just decline and be like, oh, next week we can do something, and try to, if it's winter, try to stay at home during that period and do extra things to take care of myself. So in general, I'm actually very careful. Like I never go anywhere without a cardigan. Even in summer, I'm like, you never know, like the weather could change. So I'm like, literally, I was always the person carrying heavy jackets, and people are like, why have you got a jacket with you? And I'm like, you don't know, like I can switch. And I've been in situations where I went to cinema with a friend, I was completely fine, the next minute I had back pain and I'm crying, and she's shocked, like what happened? You were just fine. So I'm always like extra cautious, and just like there's certain things that I couldn't wear or do, and I know that, and I think that's important to just know your limits and your strengths. And knowing your limits doesn't mean you're limited. It's more just like, for example, when I used to swimming at school. Every time I went to a swimming pool, indoor swimming pool, I would have a crisis. Like even between, so the 8 and 16, even that like swimming pool was like off limits. So when I got older and I would go to like a beach or something, and it's a learning process. You notice stuff about your body. I notice if I'm in a hot country and I go to a beach, I'm fine. But if it's in London and it's a cold country and I go to a swimming pool, my body doesn't. So I've realized that hot climates help me better. When I'm in a warmer climate, I have less aches, pains and crisis and stuff. And that just when I'm in London, I have to extra warm up. Swimming pools are not something I do just because of that experience. So it's just learning. It's a learning
No, I honestly, I really find that fascinating because it's so similar what you've just said. About, really, I look back and I think, wow, I went through the exact same thing, especially with relationship. I felt it was normal to tell people because I just felt that's the only way of being safe. It's best if you tell them, because why let them find out when it's all of a sudden so bad? I did that mistake. I told a guy I went on a date with, and I said, I think we went for a meal, and after that went back to his house, and I noticed before at the meal, I noticed the pain was getting coming on. It was coming on gradually. I was like, oh gosh, I'm gonna brave it now. This is my day. I can't just blow it like this. And it kept coming. It kept getting worse and worse. And I'm like, should I tell him? Should I just pause here and say, this is done. I can't do it anymore. I kept insisting, and he said, oh, let's go back to my place. Let's watch a movie at the place. I was like, yeah, why not? But at the time, my whole body was now almost, when they said, how was your pain score? This was like over 100. It was worst of the worst. And I got in the house and I sat down, and he went to go get a drink. And I remember just falling in the middle because I was in excruciating pain. My body just shut down. And I just shouted to him, call the ambulance, and this is the number, call my mom. That was it. That's all I remember saying to him. And I remember my mom coming to the hospital, seeing me, and didn't know where it happened. Where's my daughter being? Why she's so sick? But I got into the when I got better, I remember calling him. No, 2 days later, I was still in the hospital. I called him. He didn't pick up. I said, okay, probably he's trying to let me relax and get better. A week later, I called back. He didn't pick up. And I thought to myself, you really are heartbroken. I was like, are you kidding me? You're not going to pick up. And 2 weeks later, I called back and nothing. So I just realized that it's like it's also fate. You just have to believe in God and let God have a bigger plan for you. And I think the younger you understand that disappointment can happen, it's better. And I also like your story about swimming, because I can't do swimming in hot. Mine is in hot weather, because when I go in water, I get it's nice, it's cold, but the change in temperature, what it doesn't like, it doesn't mind the cold, it doesn't mind the hot, but what it doesn't like is the fluctuation. So that's the only thing that gets me. But I'm so glad that you were able to share this story with me. But from sickle cell, how did you manage to, with sickle cell, a lot of people don't know what they want to do. It took me a while. It was through lots of mentoring, meeting various people, that I figured out what I wanted to do. How did you find out? You wanted to do fashion, of all things, my favorite thing in the world. How did you find out?
And you're very fashionable, so that's great. So actually, I feel like fashion actually helped me on my journey. So because I had a lot of time off school, so I was active in school and I did go to most of it, but like periods of time, 2 months, 1 week, 2 weeks, because when I was younger, my mom made it was her mission to try and help me at home rather than going to hospital, because she didn't believe in hospital. She didn't believe in the hard drugs. She feels like natural and that way of taking care of yourself. So because of that, I would have, and even when I was in hospital, I would have time just to be by myself. So I actually started getting into sketching and drawing, and that actually helped me, because sometimes when you're in that situation and you kind of feel like you might not see a future, or because of the condition, and you might feel like is this just going to be my life? Am I just going to be continuously in hospital, or just not being able to do things with my friends or be at school? So fashion was like an outlet. It was something that I could do to have a positive thing in my life. And it was entertaining. I love fashion. And I remember when I was 16 and the pain started getting a bit bad, and I went in hospital for 2 months. And I was in hospital for 2 months. I was in hospital for maybe a week or two tops, and then I came out, but I had time to recover, because the pain was a lot different than what I'd experienced before. So I had time to recover, and during that period of recovery, I was able to, so when you first come out of hospital and you're in bed and you're really your body's you feel like you have no energy. And then and then your my mom or my sister will help me. And then after a week or so, I got back to normal a little bit, but still wasn't ready to go back to school. I actually was obsessed with Project Runway, which is like this fashion fashion competition, and it just inspired me. My sister helped me buy a mannequin, and then I would literally just sketch and design, and it actually made me happy. So I didn't see, oh, I'm just at home unwell recovering. I saw, oh, I have this passion and this God-given talent that God has given me, and it felt like it gave me so much joy. And I really knew that, okay, there's a reason for this, and that out of that dark place could come something really light.
That's such amazing. I love fashion. I never ever taken that route, because obviously from a Nigerian family, my dad has never understood fashion, and no matter how much I have tried to explain it to him, but he just didn't understand it. So I had to go his kind of route, which was in accounting and finance, then investment management. But something has always drawn me to fashion, and I think fashion also I use it as well as a way to relate to my pain, where when I'm in pain, I need to I get very creative, and I don't know where that creativity comes from. And it's not just in creativity in fashion or anything, but it's also in the creativity in the way I look. Because when you're in hospital, you look down, you don't know, you have nothing on, you look when you look in the mirror in the hospital, you really do look sick, So every time I come out of hospital, the first thing I make a point of duty is to make sure I make myself look pretty. So when I look in the mirror, I don't look like I'm sick. Yeah, so I think probably that's where you drew your fashion from. Also that creativity, because you want to take your mind away from the pain.
Just the pain.
And you can't read. It's not about reading a book. It's just something different. It's hard to explain creativity, that you just need to do something that you see it and it looks pretty.
And then after that, you're not focusing on the pain anymore.
No.
Brings you joy and happiness, because if you're not able to go to school or be with friends or whatever, so that's a fun way. And it helped me, because now, even during COVID, I was able to sew and do creative stuff, and so I felt, I was just like, well,
it's true, this is fun, let's just do whatever. So what about how everyone will be wondering, listening, people will be like, okay, what if they want to go into fashion? What advice would you give someone, especially someone with chronic illness and someone who's just passionate about it? What did you do with school-wise? How did you take this as a degree, or no? Because okay.
So after school, I did fashion and clothing. So I did a sixth form.
Yes.
And then I think there's quite a lot of schools that allow you to do like fashion. It's funny, when I initially started, there wasn't as many, but I think fashion's become like a pandemic in the last like 5 years, 10 years or something. So I did a fashion and clothing, and then I did a foundation, and then I went to university. So that whole Project Runway show I used to watch, they filmed it in a school in New York called Parsons, and it's actually one of the best fashion schools in the world, and I actually went and studied there for 1 year. Not only was it like a great outlet, it was actually a goal that I was able to, and that's something that's important. And I think having a goal and having a dream and having something you're passionate about does really help people with chronic illnesses. That's what helped me, especially because I had something to look forward to. So instead of because I know there's a lot of people who they get used to that system of maybe going to hospitals so frequently, and that's their life, and then they end up relying on these certain medications, and they feel like they don't have anything to look forward to. But when you have something that you're passionate about, or you're creative, or a talent, I think it's definitely important, even if it's little things like getting a sewing class, or like I said, I was really interested in it from a young age, that I did it in sixth form, because I couldn't do a textile class in my school because no one apparently I chose it for GCSEs, and barely anybody chose textiles, so I had to do resistant materials. So I had to wait until 16 to go to another school and do it there. So I did the course there, and then even just getting a mannequin or getting something, if you're interested in art, invest in getting like an easel or thingy and doing it. So that's what motivated me, was just getting doing stuff. So a lot of people think, okay, to start a business, I'm going to need this amount of money, I'm going to need this, and I'm going to need that. And then they feel like, this is so overwhelming, I can't do it. Whereas when you start from just something as small as, I'm going to make a dress. That's literally how I started. I'm going to make a dress. And go to university, go to school, learn, but also have your own personal thing. And because I was so used to doing that, on my own, that when I graduated, so I studied at Parsons for 1 year, and then I studied at IFA Paris, International Fashion Academy in Paris,
as well.
For 2 years. So, and I also did internships, which I would advise if it's possible for you to do an internship, even if it's just a month or 2 months or 3 months. That would also help, because the experience is invaluable. I think I wouldn't have started my business with just having the university degree. I think the internship, along both of them together, really helped with me, because I got to work like hands-on directly with designers, and I saw like, okay, this is how they do this is how they do that. So I was confident to start my own business. And because I believe in God and I'm Christian, I always pray about everything, so I would say most of it is God, like so in that sense, like praying, believing, and working hard. And when you believe in something, you can work hard. That's why it's like faith in an action. Like you believe, but also you do. Well, so
I was looking at your Instagram page, and I've seen all this creativity. I want to know, how do you find your inspiration from where, and how do you prepare from what was being your moment? Like, people want to know what's your design, what is the name of your brand, and what do you do? Are you just normal fashion, high street fashion, or luxury fashion, couture? Where do you place yourself?
Okay, so the brand is called DUMEBI, and it's actually my Nigerian name, DUMEBI. But my uncle came up with years ago, I think when I was a teenager, we joked, and then European people will say DUMEBI. And I was like, I actually love that, I'm going to use it. So the brand name is DUMEBI, and it's the slogan is like exotic couture for goddesses. So a lot of my inspiration does come from the African and Nigerian heritage. And then I also love like Renaissance art and paintings, and like I'm really passionate. I did a lot of art courses as well as in A-levels, and also at my university in New York, they were like, it's an art school and they do fashion. So they were big on like art and stuff. So I really love that. So you always get inspiration from like Renaissance art that actually have references with like God, and like, because a lot of the Renaissance artists did paint about like God and all of that stuff. So, and then I also mixed that with like Western silhouettes. So it kind of a fusion of everything. And I think that it's nice because even though there's like different cultures in it, it kind of brings together. And it's evening wear gowns. I also do wedding dresses, cocktail dresses. It's for like events, and it's all custom made. So it's all handmade in London. I have a small workshop, atelier, where I work with a small team, and we make pieces for fashion shows and events. And so I'm hoping, I think slow fashion is really important. I know that we live in a world where it's very fast paced and busy, and people like live off mass fashion or like mass market, and they're used to like high street. But I'm really passionate about like slow fashion and stuff that are like handmade and like using quality materials. So all the materials used are like silk and Swarovski crystals, and like prints are screen printing and that kind of, and because it's something I'm passionate about. So instead of it just being a business where I'm like, okay, I'm just going to sketch, and which is fine. I mean,
everyone's different,
high street fashion is completely fine. But what I was really passionate about, and what the reason I wanted to do fashion, was because I actually love creating. I actually love having an idea and taking time and creating something special, and for someone to go to an event and feel amazing in it. And that's something that like I'm passionate about. And
that's really fascinating. I mean, have you done any runway shows like during fashion week, like in February and September? Have you done any? I mean, yours would be, because it's couture, would be more January time. Have you done any of the couture runway shows?
So I've done fashion shows in London. I did one at the Saatchi Gallery in 2018, and then I did one, no, it was 2017, and then I did one, it was like a pop-up and a fashion show in Kensington. So I've been doing a few events, and I'm hoping to open a store. So that's like what I'm praying about, and like trying to get investors involved and seeing that way. But yeah, so I've done a few events and fashion shows which have been good, and I love it. And I actually want to do an event where I can promote more about sickle cell and like get speakers in and stuff like that. So that's something we'll talk about.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that after. Definitely, we should definitely have that conversation, because I mean, something we're both passionate about, and we have this fashion as well. So it's, you know, there's definitely a good idea.
And actually, my new collection that I've been starting making during COVID, because I was like, why not get some stuff done? There's actually inspired by sickle cell. So
wow. I can't wait to see this. Hopefully you have one available I could wear for World Sickle Cell Day. I think. Yeah, you know, hopefully we could talk about one of these collections, so I could showcase it to everyone and show your design.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah, just have a back garden party and just wear quarantine this long. Who knows?
Yeah.
I'll be excited to see your sickle cell inspiration sickle cell project. Yeah, man, I don't know if you saw, there was one with Beyonce. She was wearing I think she went for a sport event, and she was wearing something. We had sickle cell logo all over it.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I have to look at it.
That made the headline. Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. That's something you should think about. Yeah, that was really big, and I love sickle cell houses around the world. We're all focused on that. Said, oh, Beyonce, she's trying to advocate.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah. So that was, even though she didn't say anything publicly about it, but the dress book.
For itself, okay.
You didn't need to say anything else. You just needed to wear that dress.
Yeah.
Also, on a final note, I just wanted to ask, because you know this platform is all about overcoming pain and your struggles, and how you found joy along the way. I mean, what have been your biggest challenge in life? You know, just, I know you're so young, but we all have one pain or the other. What has been, and how have you overcome it to find your joy?
Okay, so I think that period when I was 16 was starting to be a challenge, just because I got to a stage of not really being in hospital. Even though I did have minor pains, I did get to a stage of thinking, oh, I'm completely fine. And that thought of not having a bright future and not this being my life as in constantly in hospital. And I think what helped me with that was knowing myself and my body and my limits. And I think that's how I take everything, is just knowing myself, and if I do get a crisis or something I get in hospital or something bad happens, learning from that and seeing how in the future how I could prevent that, because I think right now for me it's prevention is better than cure. That's something my mum was always saying to me. Prevention is better than cure. And before, I used to, I actually hate taking medicine. I actually hate, even to take the penicillin every day and the folic acid, I forget. So recently, I've been trying to put, I take, I don't know if you take this, it's B12 or B complex.
Yes, I do.
And because I'm always tired, and it's really annoying because I'm someone with a lot of energy, and I think I was using a lot of adrenaline, because another thing with the fashion, I'm like obsessed with it a little bit, and it so sometimes when I'm doing stuff, I'm using on adrenaline, and then as soon as I'm not doing something I don't really like, the energy's gone. And I can fall asleep anywhere. Like, I've fallen asleep I think I was in Primark with my friends, and I was standing up. This is not a joke. I fell asleep standing up. Like, that's how bad.
It's just the energy level. Our energy is always sucked. We're so tired all the time. People don't realize. Yeah.
So I think that can sometimes be a challenge, and because I haven't had kids yet, and I'm not married yet. I'm just trying to see what pregnancy would be like, and raising a family and stuff like that. So those are, I trust in God, but I'm just those are I guess some worries about having a condition, and worried if it would trigger something to make it worse, or because it's kind of unpredictable, I would say. Everyone has a kind of a slightly different case. So that's another thing of just the unpredictableness of it, like the complications. That's another thing that's like
I know. No, because I feel you on that, because it's not a thing that you could predict. So I think the best thing I would say to anyone is just take it one day at a time, and when that time hits, then you could just deal with that issue at that time. I was going to ask, do you have any other siblings that have sickle cell, or is it just you? And how many siblings do you have?
I have 2 siblings, and they don't have. I don't think they have trait either, or maybe they do, but no, they don't.
Oh wow!
They have. So I was the only one, and I'm the last. So I was like, I waited. Because
I had the person second, then the third, sickle. Oh wow! Okay, but at least you know you are doing well with it, and I'm like, really glad that every time I read the Instagram, or I read the news, or I look anywhere now, I see a lot of positive things with sickle cell. Unlike before, when I had sickle cell and I was much younger, it was very difficult to see lots of inspirational people do well.
That's another thing about what you asked in the beginning about sharing, and that's something that I think I don't know if I would call it afraid to share, but it's something that I've been trying to do more. So there was a magazine in LA that did an interview with me, and I shared a bit, but it's the first time that I've officially kind of shared it, and I guess I want to share more, because I do want to help others, and because I think there should be more positivity around. Yeah,
because nothing beats your spirit, nothing makes you happier than when you hear positive news about someone else who's gone through the same thing. Especially, it might be someone who's looking to go into fashion, and it might not just be sickle cell. They could be either chronic illness, invisible illness that we don't know about, and they could just look at this and say, well, she did it. She tried to overcome it this way or the other, even though she had lots of struggles along the way, but no, she overcome that, and she found her joy along the way. And if she can do it, I can do it. Any final words you want to say before we
I did want to just bounce off that. Is another thing that I noticed was my brother. So we were part of a small support group. It was called Enfield Sickle Cell, because we're based in Enfield. And this was when I guess I was around the teenager age. And I remember my brother started getting me into all these groups on Facebook with sickle cell stuff. And what I can say from that period of my life was there was so much negativity, and I saw like so many posts of rest in peace and rest, and it actually made me like I had to come off some of the groups, because as a young person with that condition and with a lot of positivity, because my positivity comes from God and then my family, and then having people who they don't allow me to be like feel sorry for myself. Like my family are like, they're just like, don't, why are you crying? Like, but not in a mean way. They're stay over in the hospital when I'm in the hospital. They would sleep over there. They're there for me, but in a way, like they try to make me stronger, and I think it really helped, because I am a much stronger person. But just seeing that was, especially when you're young and you never know how it can change in the future, it kind of made me a bit afraid, and I kind of wanted to distance myself from that, and maybe that's why I didn't share as much. But I feel like it's better to be positive, and to be positive in a way. I've been through certain things, but because I know it's difficult to tell someone to be positive, but their case is a bit worse, like it's worse than yours, or something like that, and you don't want to come across like patronizing, or so that's what I think I've always been afraid of, is like, so now I know it's just, so that's basically what
I think you're right, because you don't know how far to take it, and then someone gets upset and say, "My God, how do you know? You don't know." Because I was like that when I was much younger. If someone came to me and said, "Oh, why are you complaining? You should see the bright side." I'll be like, "Are you kidding me? Look at the pain in front. You're telling me to see the bright side. What bright side can I see here? It's all I could see is darkness of me being ill." But as I got older, I started appreciating people telling me that, because that got me out of the dark hole I was stuck in. It made me see things in a different light. And also, I think with your story, you're not telling it in a way that's okay, look at me, I'm doing this. You're telling it in a way that, look, I've had my challenges. I had this from my 16 onwards. It was struggle, but I found ways to overcome it. And if you want to take this advice, it might help you in one way or the other, because even talking to you, I've learned one or two things that I could easily input into my own life. So I think it's always nice when we share our stories. Oh, Barbara, thank you so much. You've been amazing, and I've enjoyed every part of this conversation. I know I got you last minute, but I'm so glad you were able to fit me in.
Yeah,
I forgot to ask you about how are you guys dealing with the whole pandemic, coronavirus, staying at home, not being able to go out. How have you managed at home?
So I'm keeping positive. Like there was a point when I got that letter, because I know
yes,
you'll get the letter and the text.
Yes.
I did start becoming like, stay away from me, because I'm at home with my mom, and my sister's also here because she was about to go back to, she lives in LA, but she couldn't, and actually good, because it's better for her to be with the family during this situation. But I did at one point was like taking it so serious from the letter, like I can't be close to you, and I can't go outside, and then yeah. And I started watching the news and getting panicky, like, oh my God, people with high risk. And then I think my family, they have such big faith in God that they're like, it's not our portion. Like, we're praying. This is not, like, as long as like stay indoors, like I go for walks. I try to be active a bit more, and just like knowing that God has plans for us. The only thing that is really sad for me is just like seeing the news and seeing that so many people are being affected. Yeah. But just trying not to take it as like praying for everyone, and not taking it in a sense that I should start to be like worried and scared and allow fear to come in. Yes. So instead I just like with creativity, I stay active with like sewing and working on the business and just looking at future plans and knowing, and I'm praying, and I'm just hoping that everything gets back to normal. I think I know they're saying next month that everything is opening, and I'm like, I like to go out, I'm very sociable, but I'm just
I'm not rushing into it.
I think I'm gonna stay in for
I think I'm not rushing too much into that. I'm just gonna take my time and absorb how things react, probably a month, and then I'll start going out. But I'm not in any rush to start going out to places, to crowds. No, not now.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Barbara, for talking to me and sharing your story. I really appreciate it. And yes,
thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much, and you're a big inspiration. That's why I contacted you.
Thank you. You can thank you. All right, you can stay on. I will edit this bit out.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks. I'm glad you could make it. Remember, we said 7, and I mean it was meant to be Saturday, and so glad you could shift your thing around and have this conversation today. Get this over and done with.
Yeah, when you mentioned it, I was like, this is amazing. I would love to finally like meet and speak with you. And
because I was planning to do a big event on June 19th, but with everything going on now, I can't really do it. So I thought, okay, why not reach out to people and still have that dialogue with them and just put it on a YouTube platform and see what happens.
It's amazing. Like all that you do is incredible. Like you're so inspiring, and
I got my thing, by the way. I got the thing for the belts, the tummy tucker.
Oh, you did?
Right. Yeah, you're right. I'm like, my Amazon is really good. They arrived today. So
I'm getting
how often do you wear it? You said just a few hours?
So I was wearing it just a few hours, but they said you can wear it like all day. But it's like it gives you like when you sit down, you're kind of like postured up. So I'm trying to do it when I'm just on walks on a treadmill.
Yes.
So I do it on a treadmill. I don't want to overdo it. Oh, that's another thing about exercising. I've never been really able to do much. I always get like
something. Yeah.
So I just stuck to. I used to be able to do like Pilates a few years ago, like maybe 4 years ago, and I kind of stopped out of laziness. But like that was okay. But recently, when I tried, it was just a lot. So I realized that maybe just walking and doing things will.
Wow.
But what about you? Are you able to do that?
Right now, I'm about to go for a walk with my son. I'm going to drag him out and say, please, even if it's we probably not go as far as I wanted to go. But what I find is that sometimes I go for a walk, I have to take paracetamol after having the walk. Yeah, because I notice like my mouth, it's almost like having a mild stroke.
Oh, you get the numb thing.
Yeah.
I get that when I'm about to have a crisis.
And I'm like, what is this? It's so uncomfortable. And it's really, it's like it goes to the brain. I'm like, what is this? So I get that. It's a pain that I prefer arm pain to this because it's just so uncomfortable. So I always have to, like when the weather is nice like this is fine, but when it's a little bit, just a little bit, like even 17 is not good for me. So I have to wear lots of cardigan and protect myself.
Yeah, I carry a cardigan for everything. Even today, I was like, we went for walks. I even said to my sister, oh, should I bring a cardigan?
Yeah,
and she's like, 22 is fine. And I was like, okay.
I know. It's one of the things. Yeah. It's better to be safe than sorry. I think that's the key. It's best we always protect ourselves. Oh gosh, I can't wait to meet you once this whole thing is over. And I'm in Hendon, you're just in Enfield, not too far off.
Is that Northwest?
Yeah, Northwest.
Oh, okay,
yeah. Not far off at all. I'm always by Enfield. I don't know what brings me there, but I'm always there. Yeah.
Oh, nice, yeah.
One or two things brings me to Enfield. So hopefully one day soon we'll meet once this whole thing has slowed itself down. And take it easy and have a great evening, darling.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I still have so much questions about like motherhood and all of that stuff.
Oh gosh, don't worry. I'll answer all your questions. I'm sure. No, I'll answer them when you're ready. When you're ready. So I don't want to put the fear of life into you. Yeah. Because it's not easy at all. I would like really lie if I tell you it's easy, but it wasn't easy at all. But it's something that can be done and will be done for you. In your case, you will definitely be a mother.
Amen.
But, amen. I believe in God, and I believe with God all things are possible. So I'm not too worried about that. It's just something you just have to do one day at a time, and make sure you have plans, and make sure you marry someone who's responsible, smart, someone who loves you in your good time and your bad time, and someone who doesn't have judgments about you. That is very key, because when you're married, the last thing you want is stress, and it comes on with stress.